Okay, so we're here with Kathy Hoffman, Arizona's Superintendent of Public Instruction. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. It's been a little busy, but doing well.
Yeah, I can imagine. What's it like dealing with something like this at the level that you're at?
I can't even put it into words. I know that with this COVID-19 crisis, that this has turned everyone's life upside down. So I know, and for me, it's no different to be in this situation that everything is different. My whole world is different. My career looks different in terms of how we're supporting our schools, what resources and supports we're providing. And even, personally, this affects all of our families. I have family members who have lost their jobs. I've had family members who have even been diagnosed with COVID-19. So this has definitely impacted us on both a personal and professional level.
Yeah. What's it like making decisions working with the governor, making the decisions to, close the schools and that sort of thing? What's that been like?
That's been really hard. Definitely not easy decisions to make. And also for me personally, the decision, so of course it's the governor's decision of whether or not to close the schools. He holds out authority, but at the same time, to be in that, to even be having those conversations and to be coming to that decision and being a part of those announcements of the fact that we have closed schools is 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 really sad. I've been grieving over that because I know that so many of our students rely on our school communities for so many things, academics as well as social emotional supports, of course, nutritional assistance, and even just having their friends and that their social life is in their school. So, we've been hearing from high school seniors who are just devastated over not having prom, not worried about graduation ceremonies and what that's going to look like. So these decisions were really hard decisions to even be a part of, and I feel very sad for the students that are experiencing this right now. But I know that we these decisions did have to be made for the safety and well-being of our whole society of Arizonans, and so I know that in terms of thinking about it from the stance of public health, I think that I have no regrets. I feel good about the decisions that have been made.
What's happening at the local school level to support students and their families?
Our schools have stepped up in ways that I never could have imagined. It's been incredibly inspirational to see. And so the first thing schools did that was one of the most important things was to make sure they were providing meals, so mainly breakfasts and lunches, to any student, any child that needed it. And that was something our department helped with. And so today we have well over 500 schools that are providing meals across the whole state. And I know um, that's been one of the ways that our schools have been stepping up. Also, our schools they've had to transition really quickly into distance learning and trying to find innovative ways to be providing educational opportunities. So whether that's through online coursework or through different packets sometimes the teachers are just calling their students to check in. And I've been really impressed, but also want to acknowledge that this has taken a huge toll on on our education field, on educators, because this has been such a unexpected, unpredictable transition. And so it hasn't been easy, but I'm still very impressed with what our education community has been able to do in such a short time.
Do you see any of the steps that have been taken or things like tele-learning? Do you see any of that sticking around in the future of education?
I think yes, because for one, we don't know if we'll ever run into this same situation again. We don't know if there'll be another pandemic down the road. So I think even just thinking about now that we're in this situation and we don't want to be caught off guard again, the way I see it is that schools are going to be investing a lot more in technology and making sure that they have enough laptops to go around, or even thinking more comprehensively around because we know, for example, that a lot of our families did not have internet access at home. But I think now our school leaders, for example, our principals might be thinking more about how can I help families get internet at home, even when we're not in a crisis, so that we're not in this situation again, and that there is more equity across the board in terms of making sure that every child can get online and not just those a laptop or internet at home.
What advice or suggestions do you have for parents who are basically homeschooling right now?
Well, first I want to acknowledge that it must just be incredibly challenging, especially when many of our parents are also working from home, and then to layer on top of that, trying to ensure that their child keeps up with school activities or school coursework. I just can't even imagine. That must be incredibly challenging for families to be coping with right now. So I think that my advice to families would be more along the lines of have patience with yourself, have patience with your kids, have patience with your teachers. This is all a big transition for everyone. And I know when I've been talking to some of my educator friends, they feel very overwhelmed because they want to do what's best for their students. But their to-do list is much longer and much different than what they're accustomed to. And so they're doing their best to meet the needs of their students. But I think that since I've never done this before, it's hard to know whether or not you're being effective, whether or not all students are learning and keeping up. So I would say for the parents, again, we're all struggling a bit, and this is a transition period. So I would advise to take care of yourselves, make sure your kids are having fun. We always want learning to be fun, and that's something that we have to keep that as part of the school experience, because if they feel like they're just sitting doing worksheets or just sitting feeling very forced into that, when maybe they're having thinking about like they're missing their friends, they're missing their usual recess time with their friends. And so I would say to just have a more relaxed, as much as possible, a relaxed approach about it, and just do the best you can, because that's what we're all doing. We're just do the best you can under these very difficult, very trying times.
That's great advice. Do you think that parents have maybe a new or deeper appreciation for their not only their teachers but the school administrators, everybody working in the education system?
I think there's definitely some parents who have a greater appreciation for teachers, that it is very challenging to motivate kids to sit down and finish activities, to finish coursework. It's also challenging to have a structured schedule when you're at home, because typically when kids are at home on a normal basis, that oftentimes, and maybe they have their homework time could be a structured time, but a lot of home time is usually free time where you can play games, or you can play with toys, or you can be interacting with your parents. But if mom and dad or whoever your family members are working from home, and then they're telling the child it's time to be learning and you need to get your work done, I imagine there could be so many distractions around the home and so many other more fun things to do, that they're not used to having that rigid structure and schedule like they would at school. So I think that there are a lot of challenges to homeschooling that families are having to adjust to.
Would you like to take the opportunity to maybe give a message directly to students?
I would love to. To all our students out there, first, I am so proud of you. I know that this is a really difficult time to not be in school right now. I know your teachers miss you so much, and that these times are not normal times, and it's normal to be missing your friends, missing your teachers, and to want to go back to your old life, to what was normal in your school. And so just know that we're doing everything we can to get back to a point where it's safe for everyone to be back in our schools, so that we can go back to having our usual way of life, our usual studies. And I know we're going to get there, but it's going to take some time while we figure out how to get through this crisis together.
Nice. What about anything to the high school seniors?
For our high school seniors out there, I want you to know that you're heard, that we have heard loud and clear that this is not fair, that this is devastating to not have your usual senior activities like prom, or I know so many of you were looking forward to high school graduation, and I just can't even imagine how devastating that must feel. But I encourage you to find other ways to celebrate your successes, and whether that's online or through making videos, however you can, I hope you can find an opportunity to be celebrated, or even postponing that until a later date when everyone can come together. But just know that you're heard, and I can't imagine how difficult this is for you.
How is a situation like this affecting women as it relates to education?
One, as I've been hearing from people in the education field across all different types of sectors, I am seeing that women are stepping up, because we, as women, we tend to be very compassionate and caring, and we want to know, how can we serve our community? How can we make sure kids are looked after? So I do think that, again, I've been very impressed with what I've seen in terms of creativity and innovative ways to be serving students, and also just not giving up. Like I'm so impressed that, even though this is overwhelming and challenging, I do not see people giving up. I see them problem solving and collaborating and reaching out to their colleagues and having lots of team meetings and trying to figure this out together. So I think that those are all strengths that tend to come with being female, and that women really bring to the table when faced with really difficult times.
Right. Can I ask, what are you doing personally to take care of yourself and stay strong and healthy during this time?
So during this time, it has been very stressful, but one thing that's been important for me to maintain is my yoga practice. So instead of going to a yoga studio, now I do it online or through YouTube videos. So that's been a great way for me to keep active and keep healthy. I've also been going on longer walks just around the neighborhood, and yeah, just trying not to put too much pressure on myself, staying social. I'm a very social person, so I like to call people or do virtual hangouts. And I also like to check in on my friends, make sure they're doing okay. But yeah, it is challenging during this time. It is very stressful for everyone. So I've tried to prioritize making sure that I'm looking after myself too. Need to stay strong.
And who are your super sheroes?
Definitely my grandma has always been an inspiration to me. She was a nurse. She's no longer with us, but she's always been one of my role models. And then I've been thinking a lot about all the other strong women out there. Definitely Michelle Obama has always been a huge inspiration to me. She just so cool, so calm, such a strong woman. But then thinking about all the healthcare providers out there that are just so critical during this time, doctors, nurses, everyone who's out there on the front lines right now. So yeah, there's a lot of amazing, phenomenal women out there. And of course, our school leaders, principals, superintendents. I have a regular luncheon with lady leaders, lady superintendents from mainly around the Phoenix area. But they've also just been so inspirational and such a great resource for me to check in and see how things are going for our schools.
Great. And speaking of resources, where can people find resources to help, if they need food, like for students, or homeschooling advice or materials? What's available and where can people find it?
We have put a ton of resources on our website, the Department of Education website, which is www.azed.gov. And then if you click on the section for COVID-19 resources, there's a ton of info there for parents, for teachers. We have a whole for virtual learning resources. A lot of them are free right now. We have an area for special education. We have a section also that's resources in Spanish for any Spanish-speaking families. Si quiere aprender más en español. and just a lot of different things. All the school meal, or where you can find school meals, all the different districts and schools that are providing school meals are on there. So definitely use our website as a resource, and please spread the word. We really want to make sure that families know that we have all those resources there on our Department of Education's website.
Great. This has been amazing to have Kathy Hoffman, Arizona's Superintendent of Public Instruction, with us today. We're so grateful for her and for you for watching. So for more information, you can visit womengiving.org and join us on social media to share your own Super Shero experiences using that hashtag. Thanks so much.